Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to week 4 of Advanced Programming with Java here at Portland State. So we got some exciting stuff tonight. So a couple things. Well, here's the agenda that I've got. First, we'll open up for questions, both on Project 1, Project 2, Project 3, all sorts of stuff in progress. Yay. Then we are going to begin the Coding Dojo. This is something that we saw at the end of class last time. We're going to watch the video again just to remind us what it's all about. Basically, we're all going to contribute to a kata. And we're going to see how that works. I've never done this before, so it's a little bit of experimentation. So it might not flow as smoothly, as if this ever flows smoothly, as it normally does. But I'm curious to see how that goes. Then we're going to talk about Project 4. Project 4 represents a big step forward in terms of what we're doing, working with a client and server, HTTP, REST APIs, all that good stuff. And then we'll probably come back to the Coding Dojo. We're only going to do the Dojo for like a half an hour, 45 minutes, so like one section of the class for that. Then we'll do Project 4. Then we'll finish it off. So, okay, let's start out with questions. So it's been an exciting week. We got Project 1's graded. There are lots of good questions there. We have both. Where are the graders? There they are in the back. Unmesh and Shisham are back there to help answer your questions about like how come this was worth so many points or whatever. There's already been a lot of emails and stuff, so I hope we got most of the stuff answered. So questions about Project 1 are cool. Project 2, I gave everybody an extra 24 hours to get it done because we got the feedback too on Project 1 a little later than I would have liked, so you got until tomorrow at 6 p.m. to submit that. And then Project 3, I hope you're thinking about, and hopefully it's started. So, what can we tell you about your projects or anything else? Yes?
So, on Project 1, like the test results that we got emailed back to us, there were requirements on there, or tests for requirements that were not in the original project spec that I later found out were discussed in the Google Plus thing.
Do you have specific ones you want to call out?
One of them was like checking for numbers in the airport code.
In my defense, I can get my lawyer up here. I think it does say 3-letter airport code. Okay, yeah. But anyway, I see your point. I mean, there were certain things that we discussed and fleshed out on the community. My expectation is that you're following along there. And so then, I mean, I think it's fair game to say, hey, as questions come in, refinements to, not sorry, refinements, but clarifications of what the specification means, you know, that's what we can talk about there.
Well, but like the opposite side of that for me was, if there are requirements that can possibly not be on the part of the project spec but can be discussed later, then doesn't that open it up to a huge thing? Like, why, you know, if somebody decides to ask, well, does it have to be an actual airport code that exists? You know, there's a lot of gray that is no.
That's true. And so then, you know, as we discussed on the list, the way we could run this is we could say, here are the 15 test cases that you need to pass, make them pass. That would be a valid way to approach the assignment, but then I think what we would lose is the conversation that we had, and that's part of it, is to say, and it's part of the meta lesson in all of this, is that, you know, yep, there are gray areas, and part of what I want you to learn and experience is you know, having to poke at those gray areas and then get clarification. So I agree. And you know, full transparency here, those are brand new test cases. I've never tested those before. So you know, yep, I'm not surprised then that, and actually I think I saw there were several people that are like, oh yeah, right, you know, didn't get that one, missed that one. Yeah, so that's where we're at with that.
Can we have a little bit of leniency on that? Can I, like,
you can resubmit, and if you want to fix it and resubmit it, then that's cool, and I won't hold it against you. So you can. Won't use your one. That's yeah. So yeah, if you want to take the time. But it might also show up again in Project 2. So yeah, just saying. Okay. Good question. Thank you. Anybody? Any other things? Yes.
So will we get like the final grade from G2L because we just get the grade for the code, but the plan of attack is still kind of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Plan of attack. Someone else asked about that too. Yeah. So the way, you know, the plan of attacks come in, and then, you know, I sit there on Sunday afternoon or wherever, go through all of them. Just it's really a pass fail. Either you did or you didn't. Unless I emailed back to you, saying, okay, you got partial credit because you sent me a PDF or whatever. Yeah, D2L. The thing is that I don't want to spend my time or have the graders spend their time inputting all the grades. So I think really what you need to do is figure out how to upload stuff. You will get, and actually we're halfway through the course, so probably after project 2 is graded, I'm going to send everybody here's your current grades, and so then it might be a little late feedback. But if you say, hey, wait, I submitted my POA, it's not happened that I miss it, and you're like, hey, I submitted it, and they forward me the email and everything, we get it fixed that way. So yes, so within the next week or maybe next week, depending on when things get graded and how much stuff is there, I will send you here's what I think your grades are. And then you can get it that way. And also then at the end of the term, I do the same. When I calculate the grades, I go and I look if there's anything missing. I'll go double check to make sure that I just if I forgot to record a grade or whatever. Hasn't been a problem in the past, but yes, I understand where it's you just get feedback on the program, and then there was a point, and the dead's up.
For the quizzes, is there any specific material that they are based on? Because sometimes the open-ended questions seem subjective questions why is inheritance important or something like that.
Yeah, why is the interface a good idea? No, what was it? Was something like that?
Yeah, and it's well, obviously you're thinking of a list of 3 things, 3 specific things, or 4 specific things. So where in the material can we find
So my expectation that the quizzes mirror the slides and the screencasts for those. And so then, yes, while the projects reinforce what you learn and allow you to take the stuff that's in the lectures, the YouTube screencasts, and not the class recordings, but the lectures on various topics and stuff. That's what the quizzes will be based on.
Okay.
And so that's what they assess. Thanks. Okay. Anything else with the projects? Been lots of questions about project 2. So is everybody clear on the text file and everything? Yeah. So one of the things I did over the weekend was I put out. Let's see. I'll go find that. I put out a on my GitHub. Yeah. So here, if you go and look at some of the recent, sorry, phone's buzzing. If you look at some of the recent commits to my Portland State Java Summer 2017 repository, I've been adding some examples of, let's see here, of some integration tests. To explain sort of what I expect to happen. Oops, let's see if I can find them easily. Oh, bother, where are they? I'll just navigate to them. Airline. Some examples of what Project 2 IT. Trying to sort of codify the behavior of the dash text file option and the whole what happens when the file doesn't exist type thing. So these are for you to use. I highly recommend that you integrate these into your own projects. There's something important to note about these. I use a special annotation here that says run these tests in alphabetical order. And that's why I have test 1, test 2. Note that if you have test 10, it might not sort correctly, or test 11 anyway. I learned that one the hard way. It's so then you have test 0, 1, et cetera, to have them sort. Anyway. And another pro tip is you have the test cases for project 1, and so then I recommend that you implement them as integration tests to make sure that your project 2 doesn't behaves as expected, especially as you go and you evolve your command line parsing and all that good stuff. So, okay. Any other questions before we dive into the coding dojo? Okay. Cool.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, sorry.
In project 2,
Yeah.
what is considered human readable enough?
Yeah. So project 2, the text file, right? So I mentioned a couple of times, like in the community and maybe in class last week, that what the graders will look at, because I think someone asked, like, wait a second, I can't, how do you read how do you see the contents of the airline? What's there? And it's like, true, in Project 3 you have the pretty printer and you can see the results of adding all the flights to the airline. What do you do in Project 2? Well, basically, all we can do is look at your text file. So it should be obvious from just looking at the text file, or no, sorry, it should be not obvious, but well, yes, obvious. It should be, the grader should be able to figure out that when I run the command line program and there's no error output and the command line program gives the impression that it added the flight successfully, they should be able to glance at the file and say, okay, great. There used to be this many lines. Now there's a whole bunch more lines. Yeah, okay, look, there's something that looks like the right date. So, right, that's how they're going to know. So that's why I'm like, don't use a binary file format. Don't try to be clever and like encrypt your airline, right? I've never had anybody do that, but I'm just saying. Never said you could encrypt. Okay, I'm saying you can encrypt. Things like that. Okay, sound good?
So JSON
Yes, JSON will be fine. XML will be fine. But a text, the intent is that it's a text format of your own design. Yep. Good questions. Anybody started thinking about Project 3 yet? Any questions there? No? Yes?
So in Project 3, the pretty printer is also going to use dump, right?
Yes.
So if we are going to use the same function, why did we implement it in text dumper, not simply in the airline dumper?
Well, the airline dumper is an interface. So, in Java, an interface is just a contract. It just has methods that should be implemented, not implementations of those methods. Yes, it can now in the language, but sort of like what it's intended for is saying, hey, listen, I've got some object and it provides this behavior. I don't care how it provides it. It needs to provide it. And so here, what I'm trying to model is that you've got you've got this concept of I take an airline and I dump it someplace, right? And that's what's embodied in the interface. It's a very abstract concept. It doesn't say where. It doesn't say anything about the destination as far as where it's dumped, and that's true from its contract. Its contract is like I've got a method called dump, and it takes something that extends abstract airline and it does something with it. Cool. So in Project 2, you implemented one kind of dumper that dumps to a text file in a machine-readable format. In Project 3, you have an airline dumper that is the pretty printer that has the same functionality of taking an airline and dumping it out someplace, but has a different format. So they both have the same interface, meaning that they have the same abstract behavior, but concretely they do that thing in different ways. Does that answer your question?
Sort of.
Sort of, right. It's a lesson. It's a little contrived, right? Would you do this regularly in the real world? Well, you might, especially if, it's trying to be. Let's see here. How would you? I'm trying to think of a good. So there is a. But back when the course was 10 weeks long and XML was still a thing. I had another project in there. I think I mentioned this last week. Another project in there where you wrote where you wrote an airline dumper and an airline parser that wrote to XML. And here again, it's that same behavior. And then it allowed you to sort of like once you had that, then you had both a -text file option and a -XML file option, and you can sort of imagine then how you could structure your code so that there might be certain portions of your code that they don't care whether or not they're reading or writing from XML or from text. They just have an airline parser. So then that's when, when you have more implementations of these interfaces, that's where you'll see opportunities in your code to program to the interface, as I call it. Where it's like, hey, I don't care what kind of airline dumper I get. I just know I've got an airline dumper, great, I'm going to dump my airline to it. So yeah, maybe like the lesson isn't as complete as it was in previous years. Unless you guys want another project to do. That's like, no, okay, I don't think so. Hey, Chris.
So kind of to that end, the interface, I think that's the right word, for like the airline dumper or whatever says it returns an airline, or the parser returns an airline.
Yes.
But when we're working with derived classes off of that, is it normal just to cast that, or are we supposed to?
Yeah. Okay. So that's it's a very good question, and one that I want to explore. Let's look at some code then. Do I still have my? Yes. Oh, I guess I'm looking at it. Okay. Good to know. Right. So here's my implementation of my little Project 2 implementation that does some very simple stuff just to make those tests pass. But let's take a look at my text parser and my text dumper. Because, this is, actually I'm kind of surprised there weren't some more questions about this, because it's something new that's this year. I haven't gotten a lot of feedback from students before. Okay, so text parser. I said in the assignment that text parser implements the airline parser interface. Let's take a look at airline parser. So airline parser is an interface, and it has a parse method, and it returns something of type T. So T in this case is a type variable. So in one of the lectures, I can't remember, where I talk about generics, it's probably in with the collections. In Java, you can have what are called parameterized types. So this is, the canonical example are with the collections, right? You're probably using things like an array list of strings, right? Or you see like you have a collection of a collection of flights. Right? You've seen this of concept. Well, this is how you implement something that can take an of. So this is an airline parser of, some T, airline parser of T, where T extends abstract airline. And so when I parse, so this airline parser will return whatever type T is, subject to the constraint that T is some kind of abstract airline. So when we look at our implementation of it, our text parser implements an airline parser of my airline. Now, my airline extends abstract airline, and that's why that works. So the compiler looks at this, the compiler time check. So the compiler will say, okay, yep, I'm parsing I'm converting this Java code into class files. Like, great, I got text parser, it implements interface, okay, and it's an airline parser that parses files. That parses airlines. And sure enough, okay, great, I go to airline parser. This T, it has to extend to abstract airline. Oh, happy day, I'm giving it an airline, and that extends abstract airline. So the compiler is totally cool with this. The consequence of this is that when you have a class that implements airline parser of airline, its parse method returns that concrete airline. So you were saying that, well, wait a second, this is the Whitlock airline, where airline parser is like one of the class, one of the course abstract ones. But in your case, it's like, hey, your airline, it would be your airline, even though this is the course's airline parser. I did this to get rid of all that casting, because the way it used to be was that parse returned abstract airline, and so then your code would get ugly and people would ask questions because you get the parser and it returns this abstract airline. You have to cast it to your airline to do things with it. Well, this way you don't have to cast. The compiler takes care of all of that and you no longer need to cast. And so then you can do things like in the project 2, the text parser, it returns parse, it returns one of my, it returns airline, which is the Whitlock airline, not the abstract airline. Similarly, your text dumper implements airline dumper, and airline dumper takes a T again, and it dumps that T, which is some kind of abstract airline. And so now back in your text dumper, the static type, the compile time type of dump is airline. Previously, it was abstract airline, and the first thing you did was cast it to your airline, which may or may not have been necessary. But anyway. This is my attempt at trying to teach you about generics. Are people using this? I'm just curious. Did you guys? I suppose I can look at your submissions and stuff. But is this something that did IntelliJ help you? Did you figure it out on your own, or you're just or were you getting all sorts of IntelliJ warnings about unbound type or something like that? I see some unbound types nodding your head.
IntelliJ suggested that we need to, I need to implement the abstract dump.
Okay. Because you had you bound the type T here?
Yeah.
You had, okay, good. And actually, even airline itself takes, maybe this is overkill. Even airline itself takes a flight, and then this allows you to say like add flight of your flight, and you get a collection of your flights. Yeah, so I mean, the cool thing about Java is that it's very forgiving, and so if you didn't do this, hey, you probably still got everything to work. You had to do some casting. The code isn't as clean as it could be, although one would argue that maybe like this is like kind of crazy overkill. I don't know, but if you want to experiment with this stuff to get rid of all that casting, you can. Might make your code more readable. Oops, that was probably really loud in the recording. I apologize. No one's listening, I'm sure. Okay. Yeah, good question. Yeah. Cool. Anyway, so I provided enough implementation here to hopefully get you started with both running some integration tests and then seeing how the generics work on those types. Okay. Cones, how are they coming? Remember they're due next week too. I saw a few submissions come in. Awesome. You're ahead of the game. That probably puts you in good position. Yeah, those are due next week. Oh, there's piano lessons again. Cool. Okay. So, time for the dojo? Okay. We'll rewatch that video because I've forgotten everything about it.
Is there a certain environment we should spin up to get ready for the dojo?
Yes, and we'll talk about it after we watch the video. Okay. Oh wait, I didn't plug in. And let's see here. Turn it up, man.
So what is a coding dojo? Well, first off, the most important part is really the setting. So if you imagine the setting to, of course, have a single computer, it's attached to some kind of projector, and of course that projector is projecting up on the wall here. And then the other important part is to have a secondary space, usually a whiteboard or a flip chart, where the problem and ideas can be written up there. Along those lines, of course, you've got two pair programmers or spars who are working together, a pilot and a co-pilot, and then you have the dojo participants who are sitting around, usually no more than, I'd say, 12 to 15 people. Okay, so that's the setting. Now let's go on to the people, the roles, and it's important to note that all of these roles have to actually have someone in place at all times and acting as responsible for the job of that role. So, role number one is the sensei. As you can see here, there's no sensei listed, and that's because usually the sensei is somewhere off in the distance in the background, watching and guiding the dojo, not giving instructions or solutions, but rather pathways to the solution. Remember, there is no spoon. Okay, number two, pair programmers. These two people are the spars. One of them is the pilot, so one of them is typing, and it's their job to write down the syntax and start to throw out ideas in a way to be on the offensive, to be the attacker, and to get the ideas up on the board so that the rest of the people can overlook at it and provide other solutions. The other person, the co-pilot, the fellow pair programmer or spar, their job is to look over the other code that's being written by the first spar and to kind of be on the defensive, to try to help and suggest ideas and to kind of quietly whisper in the ear and help the first person. It's very much the idea that these two people are working together. They're not fighting. They're training one another to be able to do the best job in the same way that a kata would be performed in karate. Finally, other than your two pair programmers in the middle, are kind of the advisors. Now, it's really important to notice that all of these people that are around the room, they're all participating at the same time. Oftentimes, they'll hop up and they'll write on the problem board themselves. They'll shout out answers if they see something done differently by the primary pilot programmer. And then the other important thing to notice here is that everyone has to take an opportunity, a chance to be a pilot and a co-pilot. So you'll very much have people switch out and to take their opportunities. Usually about 15 to 20 minutes, someone will sit in the pilot and co-pilot seat, and then switch out. So usually you'll take your first go as the pilot because you'll need to learn how to type the syntax. And then once you're kind of getting the idea of how to type the syntax of the code, you'll have the second co-pilot who can then swap over and help advise the new person coming in. So everyone in the entire programming dojo must participate. Which brings us to the rules, actually. So let's go on to the rules of the coding. So now let's go to the rules of the dojo. So one of the most important parts is, number one, the sensei asks questions, does not give answers. And so the real point about the sensei, who's obviously kind of somewhere in the background to this activity, is just providing guidance. There is no spoon. They're just teaching you how to move forward. Often the problem that they give, or the challenge they give, is given beforehand, usually a week in advance by email, so people have time to think about it. All right, rule number 2. All must participate in code being written. And what it means by that is that all of these participants around the edge who need to take their turn in the middle at some point, all of these people need to be watching the primary coding board. So what's going on with the two sparring partners and what they're writing. They need to be looking up here and participating, and ideally helping contribute by suggesting solutions. They should not have their own computers out. Not really. They should be, unless they're trying to look up stuff or something else. I mean, there's no strict rules, but ideally they're not coding by themselves. They're trying to team code and help this person learn as much as the rest of them will have help themselves when they code. Finally, rule number 3, everyone must participate in sparring, which means that everyone must take their turn as pilot and co-pilot in both typing and also helping teach how to type. So this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, so forth and so on. Every single person should switch out at some point, come and take their turn to type, and then swap out and take their turn on helping to advise and all the rest of it and give solutions. So that, in essence, is the Coding Dojo. Cheers.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, so that's what we're going to try tonight. And so then there's a bunch of steps that we need to go through first to get ready for it. So first of all, let me get the... Okay, so you saw how it's set up. So like physically here in the room, I'll put a couple chairs down here, and we'll have pairs of people rotate in and out. And yeah, you're going to be coding in the dojo in front of everybody. We're going to share our code through GitHub. And so then I've put out a couple of solicitations. Okay, and when we're going to do that, sorry, advanced programmer Java, is that I have created what's called an organization in GitHub. So an organization is like a group of users in GitHub. And I've created to get us started, I've created a repository that has our friend the Maven template that will allow us to with the Maven project with that looks just like our projects. I created it from the airline template and renamed things to be based on our kata. So here, okay, 2 things first. So I'd like you to find a pair, someone to buddy up with tonight. And I'd like you, here, I'm going to post this link one more time on the community. Okay, here's the GitHub repository for tonight's Coding Dojo. More instructions to follow. Oops, it's huge. So go there and scroll down, and there's a link to the kata. So identify yourself, identify a partner. Ideally, one of you must have a GitHub account. So if like neither of you have a GitHub account, either create one real quick, which I don't know if you can do in like 5 minutes, or go find someone who does. Go to this GitHub repository and check out the kata. This number and words. Pretty straightforward. Talk amongst yourselves for a couple of minutes and think about what kind of test cases, et cetera, and then we'll talk about how to get the repository. Okay, yeah. Something to figure out. Okay. People are good. Thinking about the kata. Everybody sort of get it generally. Sort of what we're doing here. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So did everybody find the GitHub repository? Okay. Awesome. So now let's talk about some mechanics about how this is going to work. So first of all, at least one person from every pair needs to join the GitHub organization. So please. So if you haven't already done so, please post a link off to your GitHub home. So actually, sorry, I should have done that here. That's like this address here. So if you're not, I'm bold, really. If you're not already a member of the GitHub organization, please post your GitHub home here. So something like this. Gotten a lot of use of the picture over the years. Anyway, oh, stop. How do I get rid of that? There you go. Okay. Okay, cool. And Shisham and Umesh are back there. I think I just gave them the ability to add you. So I think you get an email or something. Well, actually, no, wait. What is it? I don't know. You might get an email, you might be alerted or whatever. Once you are added, you'll be able to do stuff like this. Okay. Well, actually, it's a public repository, so anybody can clone it. So for those of you who are familiar with GitHub, there's like a clone and there's a fork. Because you're members of the organization, you don't need to fork the repository. You don't need to create a whole copy of the repository. As a matter of fact, it'll slow things down if you do, so don't. Create a fork of it. Instead, just clone it. So basically, check it out to your local machine. And everybody should be able to do this. So hopefully there's at least one person who's familiar with doing that. You can do it through IntelliJ also, although it might not initialize the project correctly. So I recommend you do it from the command line. And so you clone it with that. Once you've cloned it, you have a local copy of the project. Go ahead and make sure that you can build it. So make sure your Maven environment works correctly. So cd into the directory with the POM and do a Maven clean verify. So everybody, well, each pair will have their own copy of the code on their own local machine. And then what will happen is we'll have one pair who's up here who's implementing it. They'll implement a test, maybe two, and then they'll commit their code and push it off to the to GitHub so everybody else can see it. There's this. I think the way I'm going to run it is that we'll have one pair. The way we're going to run it is we'll have one pair who's actually doing the dojo in front of everybody, and then there's another pair who'll be the next one up there. I'm coming on deck, so like a baseball term. They're on deck. And when you're on deck, this is an opportunity to make sure that you can indeed commit to the repository. So a couple of things here. Oh, I'm going to have to start a Google Hangout. So let's create a new Hangout. Please don't join the Hangout until you're on deck. I don't think you need to see me here, especially not that view of me. I'll use the Hangout so that everybody can see your screen. So let's see here. When you're on deck and while you're in the dojo, please join this Google Hangout. Oh, interesting. Okay. Cool. If you want to use one of the USB keyboards, we've got them all up there. Please take one out. And okay, so also make sure that you can commit back to the repository. This is a really important step. So do a GitHub pull, which you can do from the command line with git pull, or you can use IntelliJ. Here again, I hope someone in the either pair knows how to do that. If not, Unmesh and Shisham and myself can help you with that. And then you're going to make your first modification to the source code. So get the in pom.xml. Oh, actually, I'm looking at it right here. there is a list of developers, and you're all going to be developers. As a matter of fact, I should make myself a developer, so I'll just go and do that. Let's see here. I have a number 2 words project right here. So I will go. First thing I need to do is I need to pull down changes, because I've been making some to that README. Git pull from origin master. Great, there's only one branch here. Yeah. Can't authenticate. Cool, got updates to my README. Neat. So now I'll go and I'll open up the pom.xml, and I'll list myself as a developer. So yeah, I'll just put myself. So I am. That's my ID, and you can put in whatever information. What's really important here is that we know who. Is that we validate that you can change this file. So this isn't really part of the assignment, just kind of cutesy stuff. And then you can put whatever you want here. I am the professor on Gilligan's Island here, and that's my time zone. Anyway, cool. So now I've made this change, and so when you're on deck, but not before, please, I want to validate. Actually, does anybody want to volunteer to go first? Who wants to be the first pair? Brave souls. I know, right? Come on, this is the way we write code in the 21st century. Are you guys going to go first? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to make my change, and then you guys, how about you go first? Should we have you in front of everybody? No, we'll just play with this for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to change my stuff. So go to the local changes. I'm going to say commit changes. I'm going to say added information about myself to the pom.xml. I'm going to commit them and push them up to GitHub. Commit and push. So we'll fix that. Okay. And so now if I reload that, okay, you see me. Okay, so can you guys do the same thing? So do you guys have well, you guys have a clone. You have a local checkout. Okay, cool. Okay, so please go in and modify the pom.xml. And meanwhile, have you been added to the organization? Okay. Okay, and so guys, can you? Yes. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, sorry. You know what? Some of these came across as Dakota Sanchez. Is that a person? Is that one of you guys? Okay, good. Okay, just making sure. Nice. Yeah, apparently Google Plus is like, oh, you posted a link. It's probably spam. Yeah, all you guys. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, yeah, good. Amanda's there. Okay, cool. Okay. I'll keep doing that. Sorry, what? Yeah, I can push the master. Whatever you want. That doesn't matter. GitHub ID would be actually I probably should use GitHub ID. But please, one at a time on this. So one of the things that we're experimenting with is conflicts and things like that. So in this one in particular, people will probably be changing like the same line. So unless you're like comfortable or want to experiment with GitHub with Git conflicts, wait until you're on deck. Trying to get some serial behavior here. Actually, while I'm here, I should probably add the graders as let's see here. What is this? How do I administer this? There we go. Moderate and member requests. Oh, how do I make? I was going to make the graders moderators, but maybe I can't do that. There we go. Preferences, edit community, manage members. And can I? Yeah. Okay. So I can search, and mesh, make them. Get promoted to a moderator. It's like the worst community chess card in Monopoly ever. Okay, and Shusham. Cool. So now you guys should be able to see those posts that get blocked. Okay, nice. Okay, so we'll go back to this one. Nice. Okay, so you guys made the changes to pom.xml. Okay, and are you able to? Well, you should be able to commit them. So let me know when you've committed them. Get a quizzical look on your face, Amanda. Oh no. Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. So then, are you able to push? So, right, if you've committed, are you able to push? Okay, so you pushed. So, oh yeah, here we go. Jeff and Amanda too, coming. Well, and since repair program, you only need to do one. So yeah, Amanda, you go ahead and put yours in. I guess it'll be committed under Jeff's name. But okay, look, here we got. Cool. We got. You have 3 bananas. Nice. Okay, this is how it's going to work. So I hope you're getting a feel for like what we're going to do. So we're going to have a pair. They're going to commit some stuff. They're going to work on the code. They're going to commit to the code. They're going to push it up, and then the next person is going to pull that stuff down and then take over in their place. So we'll have lots of contributors to this GitHub repository, which is something something new and different. So I'll get some. Let's get set up physically. I'm going to pause the recording. Oh, actually, so like while we're here, I hooked up a Travis build. And so then every time that you guys push off to GitHub, this thing gets kicked off. And so then, yeah, it knows all about you. Pretty cool. And so then this will run all of the unit and integration tests. And if anything fails, oh, yep, Amanda, yay! Okay, also committed. So come on down. Can you join the Google Plus community? And let's start the dojo. So with like one of your computers, would you mind sitting here so you're facing the class so you can see people who are talking to you? I guess I'll be the sensei who's like floating in the background or something. I'm not sure exactly how that works. Okay. So the people on deck, pull down the changes. Make sure you see there in the pom.xml. Add your own changes to pom.xml. Make sure that you can push them up while these guys are working. So let's see here, and let me get the, okay, there we go. Actually, you don't need to see me. Let's turn that off. I don't want to, how do I turn my picture off? Oh, there it is. Go away. Ah, better. I'll probably mute my mic too. Oops. And I'll mute this. Okay, so join the Hangout. Yep, it's also there like on the front page of the repository, but pull down the changes and then add your own information to the pom.xml, your own developer links, and then make sure you can push that back up to the repository, and then you should be all set.
Okay. So we'll edit the pom and
Push it up.
Is this going to be a screen share thing?
Please, yes, please share your screen, because what we'll do then is we'll use my machine, who's here on the projector, to make sure everybody else can see your screen. Okay, so can you share your screen? Oh.
Select a share screen, but it's grayed out.
Oh, weird. Bummer. Okay. You got that problem too? So maybe there are some machines. Okay. Well, you can plug in. I don't have a.
There's another way. I think I have a word.
Okay. Swinger partner, round and round. Okay, awesome. Okay. So please share your screen. Okay.
How did you split the? If you select a file with a right click and then select split the screen vertically in IntelliJ.
Okay. Who wants to go next? Who's going to be on deck? Come on.
Oh, we need to pull it.
I want one more pair. And then we'll learn about Project 4 and we'll do a little bit more afterwards. Come on, guys. Here's some GitHub. You're in the dojo. Come on. You're doing katas. Make eye contact with me. You guys, awesome. Okay. So there are those instructions on the site. Okay, so cool. Are you guys sharing your screen? No, I don't see it up here.
Way to go first. It's weird to have them.
No? I don't need to be sharing my video, do I? So
The video is smaller.
So like you, yeah, so you do
It's
it
production value. $5.
for anybody. Sucks. Okay.
Do you have to like turn it over to us?
I don't know. Am I able to share my screen? So I can share mine. Cancel, but you can't share yours, so I have to. So maybe try it now? I don't know. Nah, it shouldn't make any difference. Nope. Okay, that's messed up.
Messed up, Google.
Okay. Okay. How about you unmute yourself? Sorry, you're probably onto other things. Can you? Yeah, can you unmute yourself? Yeah. Nice. Oh, how come I don't have? Yeah, sorry, how I'm not displaying anymore. Go ahead and do your thing. Oh, it's not plugged in. Okay. It's kind of small. Let's see if I can make that bigger. No, you guys go ahead. I'll worry about that. Ugh, it's not at all readable, is it? Can I make it even bigger?
If you set them to present mode, it might.
I think they are in present mode.
Well, but I mean, like,
Oh,
if you click on the portrait and set them, is that not a thing anymore?
I don't think so. Forget it. You can plug in. Hey, everybody, let's have a round of applause for all the people that like came up here and yeah, I mean, that's kind of nerve-wracking. Okay. So we did this. It was a thing. What's your immediate feedback?
I think it would work with a smaller mob better.
Smaller, yeah. Okay, you said mob. So back when we only had 50 people in the course, we could use the room over in the fab building that has the projectors around the perimeter of the room, and we could do mob programming, which we can't hear because there's only one projector. Well, two projectors, but there's only one input. So I want to try this instead. What'd you think? Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, so the guys that did it, it was okay. It was good. Okay, what was it like for you, the viewers at home? Yeah.
A lot of downtime.
A lot of downtime, yeah, and so it's like maybe like in another couple weeks you've had some more experience writing unit tests and stuff like that, because it did seem kind of slow, but that's the way it is right now. Yeah. So okay. Sorry, I went over. So I want to talk about project 4, but do we need a break? Get up and stretch your legs. Yeah. Get up and stretch your legs. So 10 minutes. We'll be back at 8:05.